Okay, Chris back here again to get into the Render LightShape section of the LSProbe object. I assume that you've gone through the previous Get Started videos, so I'm not going to go into directory pathing and all that stuff. So let me just explain to you a little bit about this. The LightShape pass is a second pass that renders during the cube map rendering. And it creates these objects that are prefabs. It puts them into the world, renders a cube map, and deletes them. You can make your own. I have a few examples in here. You just copy one of these and then make a new texture or do whatever you like to it. This brightness is the brightness of the LightShape pass. So let me just to show it off. Turn off the light, and you can see purely the reflective pass. Oh, and this one on the left is using the LightShape shader, and this one on the right is using just the standard bump diffuse reflective, just to give a comparison for the example. Okay, so I turn the light off, and now you can see this highlight is a LightShape rendered into the cube map. And to show it off even further, I'm going to turn all the way down to 0 the world brightness. And you can see only the LightShape pass. Let me move this to the center here. Make it a little smaller. And keep it visible. So, if you want, you can change the brightness of the LightShape pass, if you like. Do like 0.5, and you can see it's like half brightness, but we'll keep it at 1. And the other thing I want to show you is the exclusion bit of this. Now, the reason you may want to exclude stuff in here is because it uses transparent effects layer. So whatever's on the transparent effects layer will go into that second pass. So if I change this guy to the transparent effects layer, unexclude it, and render it, you'll see that guy shows up in there. And I'm going to turn off the backlight so you can see it even easier. It doesn't look that great, right? I mean, it looks okay, and it'll get by for some things, I suppose, but you may not want that harsh look. So I approximate this object using LightShape. I'm going to put it back in to the exclusion because I don't want it to render. And I'll just put it back to default anyway. That would actually keep it from rendering into that pass, but I just wanted to show you. So I re-render. It's gone now, but you don't have that cool highlight. So I'm using this backlight to approximate, make it look a little nicer. A little more illustrative sort of feel to it. So that's one thing. So the LightShape itself uses a light's position and color. It can be any kind of light, directional, point light, spotlight. And that's the direction that it will render the LightShape into. You can see if I rotate the light, and the light doesn't need to be on either, but I'm going to turn it on anyway. You can see it's still there in the reflection until you re-render. I'm going to go ahead and put it back. It'll also use the light's color unless you override it. You can change the size of it. You can change the rotation. It's kind of handy. So if, for example, if I'm going to take the bump off of here. I'm going to turn that light back off again so it's easier to see. And maybe you want to use this window prefab. Alright, so you get this little window in there. I'm going to turn up the resolution. Get a little better. So maybe you know what, I don't like the way it's rotated, so you can just rotate it. So that's kind of cool. Size, rotation. The backlight is the same thing except just a second one. Now the difference between the first one and the second one is that the first one requires you to have a light. And the light doesn't need to be on, it just needs it for the positioning and the color if you're not overriding it. The second one, if you don't have a light in there, it's just going to render on the opposite side. And if you don't override the color, it's also going to just use the light's color at 50%. So I'm going to put this guy back in here. And you see on this number 2 one, I'm using this color that sort of approximates this reflected color. Put this back to the default. You know, obviously on a round shape, the rotation's not going to really do anything. So there you have it for that. Now the second or the third thing you can do is use a ground color. I'm going to turn the light back on. Re-render the scene, or re-render the Q maps. I'm going to put this back up to like 0.5. Okay, so see this little dark area there? I just put that in because it grounds objects a little better, like especially on characters. If you have a really sort of a lot of rim light going on your characters, you might get this sort of outline look to it, especially like in between the legs or like, you know, underneath the arms or, you know, around the lips areas. You might want to turn this on, and what this will do is it'll add a color from the ground. It's only in Y up, so maybe you want to go totally black all the way on. And that's just to help give a little bit of shadowing underneath. So, you know, obviously you'll want to tweak that to your own desire. And that's LightShapes basically. It's pretty simple. So play around, do all kinds of things. On the website there's a few examples at the bottom of the Getting into LightShapes page that show you some other neat stuff you can do. The other thing you can do is you can use the same light and you can kind of get, you know, some neat sort of metallic effects too. So at any rate, that's getting into it basics. CSCHERUBINI@gmail.com for any support or questions. Thanks.